Hi, it's lovely to see you. I'm Lorna, and we're reading The Mystery of the Smuggler's Wreck by Helen Moss, and this is Chapter 14, The Secret of the Compass. Knowing Emily, Jack thought, as he and Scott waited for her in the kitchen of the lighthouse, she is some kind of high-tech secret gadget, specially designed for taking prints from compass concretions. So he was more than a little surprised when she returned with a box covered in pictures of Disney princesses. Ta-da, she announced. It was a Christmas present from my cousins. It's been sitting in my bedroom cupboard for years. She opened the box, tossed aside a wobbly rubber Cinderella mould, and pulled out a bag of white powder. It's a model-making kit. Scott grinned as he took the bag. Plaster of Paris, just the thing. He began measuring out water and stirring in the powder while Jack covered the table with old newspaper. Emily gently cleaned away loose sand from the inner surfaces of the two shells with a damp cloth, then carefully poured in the thin white mixture. She tapped the casings to remove air bubbles and balanced them in egg boxes to set. Scott checked the instructions. Leave to set for at least 12 hours. 12 whole hours, Jack groaned. I'll have died of suspense by then. Somehow, Jack survived the night in spite of the suspense. Next morning, he and Scott raced to the lighthouse to join Emily for the official unmoulding. With trembling fingers, Emily tried to ease the solid plaster of Paris away from the casings. Then she tried prizing it off with a knife, poking it with a skewer and pulling it with tongs. It was no good. The plaster was stuck fast. Jack shrugged. We'll just have to break the casing off. He looked around for a suitable implement and found a big wooden mallet Emily's mum used for tenderising steaks. No! Scott leapt round the table and grabbed Jack's arm before he could strike. Don't do that! Jack laughed. So you'd rather just sit around looking at two useless lumps of plaster? Emily looked from Jack to Scott. If the plaster crumbled when they broke the casing, they wouldn't have another chance to get it right. But without breaking the casing, they'd never know the secret of Thomas Pendragon's compass. At last, she nodded at Jack. Okay, Scott sighed, but let's at least have a little finesse. He put the meat mallet back in the drawer and returned with a teaspoon. Gingerly, he tapped the casing until it shattered like the shell of a boiled egg. Emily peeled away the tiny pieces with tweezers. At last, an octagonal piece of white plaster emerged. The domed upper surface was printed with an intricate design of intersecting lines. It's just more of that stupid pattern, Jack said in disgust. Emily opened her notebook to the printout she'd made from Kelly's video. Jack was right. The patterns matched exactly. Maybe the map's on the other half of the casing, Scott said, beginning the painstaking boiled egg peeling process all over again. But instead of a map, the new cast revealed just 5 words in the centre. Emily held it up to the window to get more light. For you, cross my ear, Jack read aloud over her shoulder. What's that supposed to mean? Scott peered at the faint words stamped into the chalky surface. The spacing was uneven. It looked as if there were some other letters that hadn't come out well enough to see. We need cocoa, he announced. Jack stared at his brother. We're about to crack a vital clue and you want to stop for a hot chocolate break. Scott laughed. He took a pinch of cocoa powder and sprinkled it over the surface of the plaster. Then he blew across it. Most of the cocoa lifted up in a cloud, but a little of the powder remained lodged in the tiny grooves. Now the letters, including the missing ones, were traced in chocolate brown. Forever yours, cross my heart. Emily groaned and stared gloomily at the words on the plaster cast. It looks like this was some romantic message. I remember when old Bob told me the story of Thomas Pendragon. He said Pendragon's wife died very young and he was heartbroken. This must be in her memory. Scott couldn't hide his disappointment. But what about the smuggler's hoard? Pendragon said in that letter that the directions were on the compass. Was he just bluffing in case the letter fell into the wrong hands? While Emily and Scott talked, Jack was unusually quiet. To the untrained eye, he may have looked as if he was staring into space, but his brain was working. This doesn't add up, he thought. Old Thomas Pendragon was an intrepid smuggler, just like my Carter ancestors. So what was he doing wearing a compass that was little more than an oversized necklace with a message like something off a soppy Valentine's card on one side and a load of curly-whirly patterns on the other? It had to be a trick to make people think it was just some lovey-dovey rubbish when really it was... What? A secret map or a hidden code? Jack glared at the pattern on the plaster cast. It didn't look like a map of anything, apart from a maze, of course. Yeah, right, he thought, like there's going to be a centuries-old maze conveniently located in Castle Key. But wait, there was an old maze on the island, a huge, complicated maze constructed from thick green yew hedges. He'd seen it when they were on the trail of the midnight ghost last summer. And what had Mrs. White said when he was helping with the fudge tasting? There was an old story that the smugglers' hiding place was somewhere on the Pendragon estate itself. Of course, he cried. Of course what? Scott demanded. Jack jumped out of his chair and did a lap of honour round the kitchen, then held up the plaster cast. I think you'll find this is no ordinary pattern. It's the map of the maze at Pendragon Manor. Emily was silent for a moment, her mouth opening and closing. Then she did some victory laps of her own. Jack, you're a genius, she cheered. Pendragon wasn't just being romantic. He meant cross the heart of the maze. What better hiding place could there be? Scott joined Emily and Jack, dancing round, chanting, We've got the map, we've got the map. We're going to find the hoard. He grabbed 2 jars of pasta to use as maracas. Jack Carter, he laughed, you're the man of the match. For once, Scott didn't even have to remind himself of the shark deal to be nice to his brother. Drift barked happily and sped round and round the table, chasing his tail. Emily's dad put his head round the door. Keep the noise down, kids, we've got guests, you know. He glanced at Scott's makeshift maracas. Practising for a carnival parade? Something like that, Emily giggled. Jack grinned wickedly. We're going to dress Scott up in sequins and a feather headdress. He braced himself for a kick on the shin or a punch in the arm, but it didn't come. Really, what was going on with Scott these days? As soon as Mr. Wilde left, Emily became serious again. There's no time to lose. If we've figured out this is the map of the maze at Pendragon Manor, the compass thief might have done too. We've got to get there first. Join me for chapter 15.